like, and it's upside down, but because of the freaking tarmac, the runway is freaking icy.
Oh, wow.
Come on, you're Toronto, dude. It's not like you're landing in freaking Atlanta, Georgia, where they don't even know what ice looks like,
I know,
Like,
dude. Yeah, they get a little flurry come down and they all abandon their cars on the
yeah,
highway.
it's a state emergency. Call
Oh,
FEMA.
yeah. Oh, boy. Well, hello, Joseph, and welcome to the show.
Oh, you sound good.
Good. I guess I need to double check on that too. Did it finally? Oh, good. It finally updated the thumbnail. YouTube is terrible for that stuff. I like put the new thumbnail in and then checked it, and it was the thumbnail from the last show. And I was like, what the heck, man? And then I updated it again. And it's like, cool, saved. And it like clearly is supposed to be the new thumbnail. And then it's like, nope, still the old thumbnail. And you're like, why? Why are you doing this to me?
Oh yeah, YouTube. I remember them being terrible about that too. With you could at least they claimed you could create thumbnails for shorts.
Yeah.
And I'd always try and do a thumbnail. No, it never worked. So I was like, forget about it.
Oh man. Well, we've got a lot of movies to talk about today.
We do. But I have some big news, David.
Oh no.
Some big news, like good news.
Okay.
So my wife, my keeper, is finally starting to get into video games. And now she's always been into like the lame ones like Mario.
What, bro? Whoa. Hold on. Wow. His opinions are not the opinions of this show in totality, so
they are in the fine print when you no, but so right now we're playing was it Tears of the Kingdom Zelda game?
Yeah.
Is that the first one that came out for Nintendo? So we bought
Nintendo
that game.
Switch, specifically.
Yeah, specifically Nintendo Switch.
No, Tears of the Kingdom.
Game.
No. Back up. Sorry, I should not have let you get away with that. No, Breath of the Wild was.
That's it.
Yeah. Sorry, Tears of the Kingdom was the follow-up.
Yeah. Okay, so we're playing Breath of the Wild. We bought that one. We bought Tears of the Kingdom. We're playing that one, and then from there she wants to go to Hogwarts Legacy and The Witcher 3. As
those
the next games.
Those are some big games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can if you ignore. I mean, you've played Hogwarts Legacy. If you ignore, and this goes for The Witcher 3 as well. If you ignore some of the side stuff, you can get those done in what old man David would call a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah. Well, it's probably going to take her 10 years because, at least so far with playing Zelda, she likes to explore every nook and cranny and gather everything and pick up everything.
She's going to be playing one game a year at this point.
Yeah, which is fine. But I think going from, I mean, we all have our. Listen, I was the same way with Hogwarts Legacy, right? I went everywhere first. I think I was at level 20 before I even got to level 3 of the main quest. And so, but with that, I think that Zelda's perfect because as far as the fighting in there, it's not like consistently in your face, like probably like The Witcher would be.
Yeah.
And then I think Hogwarts Legacy would be a good one. Like, so my plan is, okay, go through the first 2 Zelda games, then Hogwarts Legacy, and then from Hogwarts Legacy, a jumping pad to The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
I think that will help her as far as like when it comes to the fighting abilities, because obviously she's brand new to playing video games. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, none of them are super deep experiences as far as that's concerned. Funny enough, I've been thinking recently about getting back into like some classic gaming.
Yeah.
Going back to some old consoles, like trying to pick some stuff up on eBay. Some of it's like reasonably priced now, unless you're trying to do GameCube stuff. You can get a GameCube for like a pretty good price. I really want an orange one. I never got an orange one growing up. I had the black one. Still have it. It's like literally sitting right behind me. But I've always wanted an orange one. So I might end up getting one of those eventually. I need some new wires and stuff too, because they've just all that stuff kind of gets lost over the years,
You know what I really want to do though, David?
Hmm.
I really want to I really want to buy Call of Duty Modern Warfare and get to that.
Oh, and Warfare 2, yeah, no Russia. You don't have to get very far. It's pretty much at the beginning of the. I think it might be
just
almost.
Wait for her to be like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "The choice is yours."
No Russian. You just look at her, you're like, "No Russian." Yeah, man. I mean,
then when she chooses to just start shooting, I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, I can't believe you would do that."
What a absolute sack! I mean, like even looking at it now, almost in particular now, like those developers had massive cojones for putting that in the game.
They did.
Like
and that's what causes violence in our society now.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no Russian is the cause of all of our problems. Golly. Yeah, dude. I mean, there's like so much. I've been like, I just don't have the room for it right now. But like, I'd love to get a 360 and a PS3 because there's a lot of
Xbox One to sell you.
No, I'm good. There's a lot of like stuff that either isn't great backwards compatible, or the updated versions of them or the remasters that they've done are just not as good in certain ways. So I've been itching to do that. But one of the other things that I've been working on, I was at work the other day and talking with one of the people that I work with, and he was telling me that like he's not actually. I have quite a few. This is okay. So sorry, this is like semi inside baseball, but you'll kind of understand where I'm coming from with this. But so I don't talk about it a ton on the show. I have in the past and like on some other people's live streams, but like I do videography and a lot of stuff on the side, and I have quite a few mutuals and or friends that are kind of into the same thing. And one of the most interesting things to me about it is the number of them that have very little background in film. Like they almost like weren't a fan of the medium before they decided to get into it, which I think is really interesting. I'm not saying you necessarily, well, I guess that's a debate. I'm not saying you necessarily have to be. There's a technical level to it, and depending on what you're trying to do with your life, like, you know, if you're making your money off of like making wedding videos and people like love the way you do wedding videos, like you don't necessarily have to have that kind of background. But I found it really interesting that quite a few of them, we were talking about it because he had shown me some of his work a couple months ago, and we just kind of got on the subject of it, and he's like, yeah, you know, but he's like, I've never really watched a lot of movies. And so he's like, what do you recommend? Like, where do I start? And he goes, you know, a lot of people have just recommended I start with the Marvel movies. And I just looked at him and I said, okay. I was like, don't take offense to what I'm about to say. I was like, but that's the most normie take I've ever heard, as far as like what, like if you're asking people like, oh, you know, I don't watch a lot of movies, where should I start? And they're like, oh, you should watch the Marvel movies. It's like, hey.
Specifically start with Captain Marvel.
Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, and I'm oh man, we're gonna get there, Victor. I was thinking to myself, I was like, all right, like it's, you know, off the top of my head, there's like always a handful of movies that I've kind of got ready to be like, okay, it's probably a good place for you to start.
Right.
And you know, obviously, like
American History X.
Oh yeah. But so I was telling him, like, obviously,
and then Schindler's List. You go from American History X and then to Schindler's List.
Yeah. I have a different opinion. I think everybody's going to be a little bit different on how they would try to like guide someone into like really appreciating the medium. And so I was like, well, listen, you have to watch Lord of the Rings. And I was like, and you specifically have to watch the extended cut. And one of the girls that works with us, she looks at me and she goes, but those are, she's like, that's like 6 hours. And I just look at her and I was like, yeah.
No, she's wrong.
It's longer
That's
than that.
Like
yeah,
11 hours.
Yeah, it's a lot.
11.
It's a lot. But
I think it's 11 hours and 55 minutes. I want to say. I only remember that because Mike Winger's Women in Ministry series, like his video when he combined them all together, was like 11 hours and 58 minutes. And somebody posted the only thing that beats Lord of the Rings extended editions is his Women in Ministry series.
But he that's like a definitive. It's like they're, dude, at this point, it's so funny to think about it this way, but like they're classics.
Yes, they are. They hold up really well.
And then Terminator 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I was like, listen, you should watch the first one, like watch them in order. But Terminator 2 is definitively the better of the two. And then I was like, don't watch anything past that. I was like, don't even bother with the rest of them. But
1917 on that list too, just from the cinematography alone.
It hasn't made. Okay, so I say all of this because I'm working on a top 100 for Letterboxd. Like as far as this is like my definitive. If someone came up to me and said, I need a list of movies so that I can get into like watching them, this is my list of like, this is what you need to watch. And it's I'm trying to do a mix of things, and where I'm at right now is I'm trying to go through and like say someone like Christopher Nolan. For now, I'm going, okay, if I'm looking at his filmography and you have a new, what's up, Gorilla? You have a new person who's getting into just movies in general. Like, and it's crazy, dude. I think it's it's a weird thing. It's kind of a Gen Z thing, and I imagine it'll be the same case for Gen Alpha when they're a little bit older. But I think there's people from those generations who, they didn't really grow up on movies necessarily, and then they got into social media and they've been like doom scrolling, and then like I think some of them like the spells are like breaking, and maybe they're seeing clips of stuff. I who knows, right? I haven't really dug into like what exactly it is, but there's a weird thing that's happening with some of the people that I know that are from that like age range, and I'm like, okay, if I was to give you like a list, I was like, my goal is to give you. For now, like, okay, it's numbered not because this is like my top 100, right? Like they're not in a specific order. That's a whole different ordeal. But what I'm doing until I get further down the list is going like, okay, Christopher Nolan. If I'm looking at his filmography and I'm going, I can suggest one movie from his filmography, because I don't want you to be like, hey, watch every Christopher Nolan movie, because that's not how I'm going to get you into it. I want you to watch something that is kind of unique. It's really well executed, and will probably have you kind of being like, whoa, when you're done, like, what's it going to be? So that
probably Tenet, right?
No. Shut up. Definitely not, dude. That's, oh god, it's probably his worst. It's probably his worst movie.
I know.
Holy moly, dude! Could you imagine? It'd be it'd be fun to make a list that was like the troll version of that.
Yeah.
That's just like the worst suggestions.
I'll work on that one.
So I picked The Prestige because I was stuck between.
That's actually what I had in my mind was The Prestige.
So I was stuck between that and Inception, but I think...
Yeah, that was the other one I had in my mind.
I think The Prestige is the better movie. I think it's a better movie. And I think you have to go
Prestige, Inception, and then maybe The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, no. Yeah, The Dark Knight Rises. Wow. You believe what's he say? He's like, you.
The Dark Knight comment.
Do you think you're in charge, or whatever he says? Do you believe yourself to be in charge? Yeah, so I picked that one because I think, outside of his Batman stuff, which is clearly the most popular. I think if I'm like, listen, this is what you need to do, because I'm not staying away from superhero movies. In fact, funny enough, it's on the list for now. I don't know if that's going to change or not. But Blade is the first superhero / comic book movie that's made the list so far.
Oh yeah,
because it's like, okay, it's very much of like its time. The first one is something that, like, if you've never seen it, like, there's a certain amount of like, I don't know, kind of respect for that being like one of the first. Like, it's R-rated. It was one of the movies that set off the genre. It stars a black man, which obviously, like, it flies in the face a lot of the narratives that go on today regarding race when we talk about stuff in the media.
If you're going to start with the MCU, you're going to start with any Marvel comic book movie. Blade has to be the first one.
Yeah, I think it's, and I'm probably not putting anything from the actual MCU on there. If anything, it's just going to be Iron Man. You know what I mean? It's going to be like, watch Iron Man. Like, that's where it starts. It's still to this day one of the best. It's not my favorite. I've said over like pretty definitively, I think Civil War is my favorite. It is quite good. And
wow, that is a good one. I was thinking between that one and Winter Soldier.
See, I like Guardians better than Winter Soldier. Guardians, unfortunately, isn't totally to blame, but that's where they all of a sudden they're like, wow, everybody liked that Guardians movie. Let's try to emulate that humor over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until we literally drive people insane.
And now we're here,
bro. And so, yeah, I've been putting it together. I think it's coming along quite well. I was trying to figure out, where was I? So I'm at about 30 movies right now.
I can't wait for you to get finished with it.
I will. Yeah. Maybe what we'll do is, like, we can go we'll just pick a week, like a slow week, and we'll just kind of go through and, like, talk about it, because we don't do that very often. I don't get to, like, really talk about a lot of the stuff that I really love from these genres. I mean, like, Godzilla -1 is on there because it's objectively, like, the best Godzilla film. And
if you're gonna watch a Godzilla or really any monster movie, that one's probably going to be at the top of my list.
And I think it's where you start. And again, part of my goal with it is to give you a list of movies so that helps you kind of understand when you see something that's not good.
Yes.
You know, like, you've seen,
able to identify it.
Yeah, you've seen enough of this is good that you go, ooh, you know.
Yeah, it's the same.
That's
way,
at least
like,
the goal. That's the goal.
I didn't really understand music, like, to the extent of to where someone who's been doing it all their life, like singing, playing instruments and stuff, until I, met my wife, and then and she was able to help me point out things that were wrong with stuff, because she's very, it's
she's
musically
inclined.
She's musically inclined,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and so she can, spot stuff that she could spot things, still can too, that I couldn't, but now I can spot those things where I'm at now. So that's essentially what you're trying to do. It's like, hey, you know all this good stuff, and with all of this great stuff that you're watching, and where's the writing, whether if it's the set design, the production, the cinematography, the lighting, the editing, every time I think of editing, I think of all the jump cuts and Rings of Power.
There's a lot of them in this new Captain America movie too.
Dude, yeah.
And Taken 3.
They should have called it Captain Falcon. Brave New Jump Cuts.
Yeah, Black Widow Goblin. Bruh, I was listening to, we'll get into it, but I was listening to maybe Mahler and them talk about it. I didn't even catch that I guess she was a Black Widow at some point.
You were listening to who talk about it?
Mahler. And they were saying, they're like, oh yeah, she's like trained by like the Black Widows, because it was on a different part of the movie, but I was like, I just thought that they were, I missed it. It was a throwaway line, right? Like literally every line in the movie. Holy moly, Captain America, Brave New Exposition could be a
dude, yeah.
Holy moly,
that entire movie is just exposition.
You know. Oh, dude, one of the best lines in it is so funny is when they cut away, or it's pretty early on, and they're talking about Harrison Ford's character, and it's like they're talking about his daughter Betty. It's like Betty Ross or whatever, former or like ex-girlfriend of Bruce Banner or whatever, and they're just like giving you all of this exposition to catch you up on everything from movies that came out like years ago at this point, right? Like quote unquote technically Incredible Hulk was the beginning, right? Like Iron Man, most people consider the beginning, but Hulk came out first. People just don't like to. That movie got for a long time kind of got pushed under the rug, so it's really funny to see them try to like, man, they're like down at the very bottom of this mine, dude, just trying to mine out whatever's left in there, you know?
Yeah. Dude, they really are.
So anyway, yeah, man,
I appreciate the fact that they tried to, I guess on a positive aspect, they try to answer the Eternals question of the big, freaking being coming out of the world.
Yeah, dude, it's adamantium. That's literally the answer. They're like, okay. They're like dusting their hands off. We've solved that problem. Now we're moving on. Hey, get ready, get excited for next product, get excited for X-Men.
Dude,
that's all it is. It's just like, dude, man. And I think this movie in particular is could be studied in film school for like the most. I'm trying to think of the best way of explaining this. Just like the most corporate interference in a film.
Dude, you could definitely see all the reshoots in the film.
Yeah, because there's no... Bro, I mean, like, there's not really any themes in it. Like, definitive stuff where you're just like...
It's all over the place.
Like, what... Yeah, like, if you're going to ask someone, like... moving, like trying to dig past. I mean, it's a Marvel movie. It's a past in-game Marvel movie. So like trying to talk about like a discussion, as far as like what's the movie like about? What's it trying to say? I mean, man, at least Winter Soldier and Falcon Winter Soldier had it was definitely trying to get its point across about something, whether you thought it was incredibly hateful or not.
It had a very culturally poignant message in it,
Yeah, do better.
It was very subtle.
You can at least point to it. In Brave New World, it's like it really is big exposition dump action. I guess it starts out with action, right? Then the big exposition dump. Then more action, then more of the exposition, and then action. I mean, it's just.
I love how they just showed you. Hey, listen, people, like this. There's going to be spoilers, obviously.
Yeah, I'll keep them.
Let me just go ahead and tell you, you've already seen everything in the trailers.
Oh yeah, you literally have seen the entire movie. Like they did. Oh dude, the final fight is like 5 minutes. It really isn't
like, why
interesting.
Did you show that in the like if you're gonna do it that way, I assume based off of how they did the trailers, like there's gonna be a lot of Red Hulk throughout the movie, right?
Yeah.
But no, they just saved the Red Hulk for the last 5 minutes.
Dude,
if you're gonna do it that way, then why'd you put him in the trailers at all? You know what I mean? Like have it be some kind of big reveal so you could at least have that going for you.
Yeah, Caravaggio says, with the whole popularity of MAGA / America First zeitgeist today, the movie should have been incredibly popular. Such a waste opportunity. Well, I think, yeah, I mean, like it definitely, if they had, the cojones to actually like do something like that. But this movie, it's been in production forever.
It was like Anthony Mackie's, to your point to that, where you're going with it, David, is like it was going to be a hard sell for this movie not having the main hero in the movie who it's about, Captain America.
Yeah.
Captain America is not Falcon. Captain America Steve Rogers. There's nothing wrong. Anthony Mackie could have had a Falcon movie. I would have rather have seen Falcon, A Brave New World versus Captain America, A Brave New World. And it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways Disney fumbled the bag on this.
We can't expect them at this point. They're like, so Deadpool and Wolverine, we've talked about this before. I hate that I have to constantly bring this stuff up, but it's like that is the exception to the rule at this point. They kind of stumbled into that.
What's that now?
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
making like 1.4 billion or whatever it was.
No, that was carryover. There's so much involved in that.
Yeah, it's more than It's kind of a similar situation to No Way Home, where there's like a lot more going on there than just it being a Marvel movie. And we'll see once the numbers are. So it looks like it made like I think about 88 million.
It's made so far worldwide 192 million, dude.
Really? So everyone's going to be like
Box Office Mojo right now.
So everyone's going to be like, well, it made its quote unquote money back because they kept saying it had a budget of 180 million.
Bro, yeah, and I'm in the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen quite a few people in denial. It's so funny. There's still a few accounts on X that cover this kind of stuff, and one of them was like, I was talking about something like that, and someone brought up like, listen, there's not a chance this movie cost 180 million to make. All these reshoots they had to do, all this other stuff, and the guy was like, the account that was putting the stuff out there, I can't remember which one it is. It's one of the more popular ones, or bigger ones, I should say. They were like, yeah, but they're saying it was 180 million. It's like, bro, have you not learned? Like
lie about that stuff.
Yeah, they lie. They're gonna lie about it all the time.
And there's no way they did. What was it? 4 reshoots? Not like just 4.
I don't think it was 4. It was 2. I mean, from what I've heard, they have at least one other full version of this movie, which would get you.
The director's cut is worse than the
the
final product.
I heard. So if we're doubling the alleged budget, which typically leaves out marketing costs.
Yep, and theater cuts and everything else.
Sure. I've heard in the that the actual budget's in the range of like 400. So then this thing's got to make $1 billion or so to actually break even. And then listen, it's the same thing. It's the same thing we see all the time with this, where they say, "Oh, this was the budget," and then later it's like, "Huh, it's really like we'll see like when the dust settles on this, right? Because let's say it's made 100, like you said, 190 whatever worldwide. Like word of mouth gets around, nobody's talking about this, right?
No, and it's had a massive drop off since opening day.
And next week is a big indicator for that, right? So a strong first weekend is always like a potential good indicator, at least it used to be. The problem is if everybody is pretty much saying like, it's not worth your time, just wait. It's kind of boring, or it didn't quite live up to expectations, or that's not good. And we'll see next week, because if this thing makes half of what it made, less than that, like it's already on a downward spiral, and that's not good. You can't be making even these normal Marvel $200 million movies and be coming away with a quote unquote strong opening weekend. Also, I'm pretty sure they're counting President's Day in that. It's like it's like a 4-day weekend. That's why they always do this stuff. There's all these ways they
worse than Ant-Man, and it's doing worse than Ant-Man did when it released. Didn't that release like last year, the year before last?
Yeah, and that did real bad.
So I mean, it's not,
I mean, listen,
like even if you put it at 250 million or whatnot, it has to make 750, 800 million to break even. I mean, so you're pretty much probably saying 750 to $1 billion to break even.
Yeah, and it's probably on the higher end of that. I mean, the marketing for this was everywhere, dude. I'm pretty sure it had Super Bowl commercials. I didn't watch the Super Bowl, so. I do not care.
I don't know.
But yeah, man, let's see. And it's funny because you had mentioned to me before we started recording that you're like, man, I just don't have a whole lot to say about the movie. And I'm kind of with you. I mean, it doesn't really do a ton of follow-up from the TV show, except a couple characters. They stumble their way into a few new characters that have no screen presence.
Yeah, man, it's just one of those things. I hate the fact that I have more negatives to say about it than positives.
I knew it was going to be the case, man. I mean, it was so obvious from. I mean, weren't they going to call this New World Order? Wasn't that the original name of this movie? I think from the time they like changed that, and then hearing about the reshoots,
but then Trump
got
won the election and they changed the title.
Yeah, no, it was before that. But yeah, man.
Talk about a waste of a cast. That's what I mean. All I have is negatives to say about it. I mean, you got Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford. You have Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh yeah,
and he's like barely even in the film.
He is an afterthought, or at least in the version that we got. Yeah, he's like there. He has this like whole fight with Falcon where he probably should have killed him, dude. There's a scene in it. I think so. It's like the introduction to him. I think Anthony Mackie's like driving down the road, and Esposito comes around the corner, or like he comes out of nowhere with this like AK and just like lights up his car, and I'm like, he should be dead. He's dead.
Yeah.
There's no way. And then of course he's not, right? And dude, they're doing like
you have Takahiro Hira in it. I mean, you just have a great cast in here. And
they're completely wasted. There's zero writing going on with this. It felt like
you have Captain Israel in the movie too. What's her name? That's essentially what she was supposed to be, right?
Oh, the Goblin.
The Goblin. But the actress, I found this out researching her that when she was a kid, she had cancer and beat it, and that's what stunted her growth. But because one of the things when I was watching the film, I was like, man, I just can't get over seeing like this tiny woman.
She's like 4'9"
take on these, huge guys. It's just it
is the most jarring example I think I've seen of it in a while.
Yeah.
Right. Like you remember? So what was it? Gunpowder Milkshake with Karen Gillan that came out a couple of years ago.
Yes.
I've said this. There's before, but and we'll talk about it a little bit with the Gorge later. There's like at least if like the girl is tall, it makes some sense. And then like it's a mix of that. Scarlett Johansson, for instance, like in Iron Man 2, that hallway scene where she beats up like all the guards or whatever. One of the reasons that works so well is because of how it's filmed, edited, the way that the choreography worked in that scene, that they had like they had an intention behind what they were doing with her that made you believe like, oh, she can definitely do this stuff. Mm-hmm. And in this, there's so much about like the blocking for the scenes and the way that they present this actress, and you're just like, she shouldn't be able to do this. And it's an amateur issue more than anything at this point. I mean, we kind of I think all the talent must be gone for the most part. I mean, this is why they're desperate to get the Russos back. It's why they're desperate to get like a lot of the old cast back, because like people had to have looked at this stuff and been like, this isn't working. Like I just don't find any of this believable. And that whole scene with the new Black Widow lady or Captain, whatever her name is, dude, it doesn't even matter. It's just a callback to that Iron Man 2 scene. It feels very similar, but it feels like it's a ripoff of it, and that there's nothing. Oh no, dude! I just realized that our little things aren't our Discord things aren't up on.
Oh, yeah, I just realized that too.
Oopsie poopsie, everyone.
No,
Sorry, we got so into this that that's weird. Where is the Discord chat? It says it's there.
By the way, the actual 3-day total of the movie is 94.8.
Okay.
Without President's Day.
So not very good. Not very good.
No.
Oh no, dude. What's happening?
You trying to get it in there?
Yeah. I'll keep trying to do this while we talk about it. But yeah, man, I mean, it's all of the action is just slop. Like, there's nothing.
The CGI.
Oh,
like,
dude, it's so
how do they
bad.
manage to get worse with every movie? They always find a way. It's like every time I watch a Marvel movie, it's the CGI can't get any worse, and then the next one I see it, I'm like, dag, they figured out a way. I don't know how. I'm sure it's not the VFX company. I'm sure it's just like probably Marvel's unrealistic expectations, and that the VFX people probably had, the time they needed, probably could produce a better quality product. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just another slop of a movie, really. I mean, the title you created nails it. It's just not worth their time. I wouldn't pay any money to see it. I wouldn't watch it on streaming. I would cancel Disney if you had it and say your goodbyes.
Bro,
and to your point about them bringing the old gang back, it's not, this is the thing. It's not that they need to bring the old gang back. That's not it. They just need to have good writers. Like, everything starts with the writing from there, and give the writers time. I mean, I know a lot of it with Disney is they're executive heavy, but clearly the writers do need time. I think the less writers, the better. I know there's with the new strike that had happened and the deal they signed, I think they have to have what 6 or 8 writers or whatnot in the room. It seems like too many people in the pot.
Yeah, this has been one of the biggest problems for Hollywood, is that they just keep shooting themselves in the foot with a lot of the stuff that they've been doing.
Yeah, truly, if I was just a company like Disney, I would be like, okay, well, we're gonna have like 2 main writers, right? And this is gonna be 1A and 1B, or whatever you want to put it, 1 and 1A, and then the other people we're gonna hire, and they'll be more like consulting writers. You know what I mean? Like, hey, read over the script, make sure there's no grammatical mistakes.
Well, you need that. Yeah,
less is more.
Yeah, you need a writer. You might even want to have someone to bounce your ideas off of, and then I don't even know if for someone to come in to do your copy editing. I don't really think. I mean, maybe you give them some sort of credit in there, but like, why they're not
to hire 6 writers based off of that?
That's so nuts, dude.
If I remember correctly, I think I remember it was either 6 or 8, and I was like, goodness, dude, like, dude, I would just finagle it and just be like, yeah, we're gonna hire all 6 of you, but these 2 are the leads, or this one's the lead.
Okay, I fixed it, or I'm about to fix it. Yeah, man, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I had completely forgotten about that for a while.
Yeah.
I just think that you that should have never been a thing. I understand that it's like an industry, and you need to be able to like pay to live in the area. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why you're seeing a lot of people run from Hollywood, and specifically like LA and all that. And I think because I've got a friend who lived out there for a while and wrote for television, and she moved back over to the East Coast. And I don't know, I've never really like pried, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've always wondered if it's like a lot of it is well, there were layoffs with the strikes. That was one of the big reasons they moved. And you got to think that some of that, you start to look at things and you're like, well, I can do, like, especially for writing, like you can write from anywhere. You can live in the like dirt cheapest place in the United States and do that. Yep. And you're probably still getting paid the same. So like, why not live somewhere that you really want to instead of having to pay like an insane amount of money for a crap apartment or whatever
in an unsafe area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yep, they're shooting themselves in the own foot. Hollywood is, but I mean, their destruction will be our benefit. So
yeah. And then like, what was the I don't even remember his name. The green, like cancerous looking dude in this. Do you remember?
Freaking A. Yeah, I do not remember, man. Dang.
Yeah. Dude, the whole thing. It's just it's just another addition to everything past phase 3 that it's like pretty much forgettable. We're just in this cycle, man, and I'm wondering if that's going to be the case for some of this other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Fantastic Four coming out, and then Superman.
Dude, man,
I
think I'm probably the
Thunderbolts.
Superhero movie. The 2 superhero movies I'm probably most intrigued to see this year is Superman, to see like if James Gunn is going to pull it off, and then the second one, and I kind of feel bad for him. I kind of feel bad for DC. I'm like, man, y'all chose James Gunn. Like, I don't like that. That isn't. I'm not trying to say that like derogatory towards James Gunn, because I think he's a good director. I just don't, and he's got to convince me on this in the movie. I just don't see him heading up a Superman movie, and maybe that's because I've typecast him based off of his filmography.
Mm-hmm. Well, dude, he was.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see can he really do a Superman, something hopeful and positive, uplifting, and I just get the feeling it's going to be 2 Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. He can't help but kind of it'll be interesting to see, because my bet is that we might get some of what you're saying. So like the Guardian stuff's going to be in there, because I just don't think he can help but do it, you know?
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll actually still get some good Superman stuff, but I'm wondering if we're going to kind of come away from it feeling like it's a mixed bag. Like it's like
middle of the road.
Like the good stuff might actually be really good, and then there's a lot of other stuff in there that's like, this just wasn't necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
probably.
I'm curious.
And then Fantastic Four, I think, is the next one.
Yeah, I mean, that one is a curiosity, but I definitely don't have. I mean, it'll be better than Captain America, I'm sure.
Don't hold your breath.
I'm sure it's going to be better than Captain Falcon, but you're right. I mean, like, I could totally eat my words. It'd be funny to be able to
somebody
be like,
clip
holy
this,
moly. Oh, dude, I'll clip it. What are we at? 42-54? Yeah, dude. It'll be funny to come back if it's like it was worse. I mean, like Thunderbolts will be forgettable.
It will make a good short for you.
Yeah,
you can go from 42 whatever to
Fantastic Four's got to be better than Captain America. Oh no, it was worse. Yeah, man. I in my mind, like I feel like that's got a pretty good cast too. But I mean, and we keep saying this. It's just like we're just a broken record of a podcast. But it's like it's the writing. And I read all of the, I'm not reading like IGN's articles, but there's all these people online pontificating about like what it is that's making like the new Captain America movie, like why it doesn't work. But no one's just going, well, none of these like bigger outlets, right? And we just haven't hit that point yet where they'll just go, yeah, the writing's just bad. It's rushed. It obviously the reshoots hurt it a lot because they're basically Frankensteining a movie together.
Would you say like
Red Hulk wasted? Yeah, Victor, for sure.
Would you say it's like a 1 star or 1.5 star?
Oof. Yeah, I mean it's probably a 1, pretty easily. Actually, I should look at. I was telling you earlier.
It wasn't as good. It definitely was not as good as Madam Web. That was
I had more fun watching Madam Web. Yeah. Madam Web definitely kept my attention longer.
After that movie, I was laughing from start to finish, dude.
Yeah, dude. So Madam Web for me, it's one of those things. It's like there's a lot in it that's just like really funny cringe, and then there's still just a lot of like boring like waste of time in it. But that's this whole thing. Like there's not even anything in this where you can laugh at how bad it is.
Yeah.
So
that's the problem with this one is it's just
so
boring.
Let's see. I've seen. Hang on, I need to get into my. Where's the edit button? Okay, so my list so far for this year. I've seen 7 movies. I think that definitely has to be at the bottom.
You've seen more than me.
Oh man, well, I have. So if the end of the year, if no more movies came out this year, it would be kind of a sad year for a top 3. So right now, Wallace and Gromit is still at the top, and then The Gorge, which is I gave it like a 3.5. Like it's not gonna blow you away by any means, but it's like competent. The acting is actually good. Like I had sent this to you before, but it's like they're holding up the movie. Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy, they are doing a lot of heavy lifting for what is a very average script. But it's kind of I say this a lot. Like this is where we're at. Like, and the thing is like I was like kind of happy with it. I'm like, it's very simple. And they're like, it's like set up, and then they're there, and there's like the mystery, and like they kind of revealed some of it, I think, a little too quickly, but then they have, it's like the first hour of the movie is like very much one thing, and then it very much, and this can be a problem for a lot of movies, and I saw some people say that they weren't real thrilled with the second half, but it does something in the second half and takes like a turn, and everything goes like a certain way, and like the world building that they did is kind of cool, and like and then like it has its conclusion, and it's relatively satisfying, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Like it's not a I don't calling something. It's funny people say this still a lot, but they're like, oh, it's not like an Oscar winner or whatever. I was like, who cares about the Oscars?
Yeah, who gives
that doesn't necessarily. Yeah, it doesn't.
Movies don't even. The only way you even can get nominated for an Oscar is if you meet their freaking checklist. So yeah. Who cares? It's not even about the actual quality of the movie.
Yeah, the Oscars died in 2019. That was like the last year that it was actually kind of like an interesting group of films, which I saw all of. Beforehand. It's the last time I did that. And then I saw Companion. I finally saw Companion. And it's very average. This is the same guy that did this movie Barbarian a couple of years ago, which I'm is kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. I don't like the ending very much. Barbarian was better. This is like just didn't quite hit it for me. It's kind of a mixed bag with the cast of characters, and there's a way too many like conveniences in it that I was like, And it's one of those movies where like everybody kind of sucks, so you're like, okay. And then it's very much got like and Barbarian had some of this too, but it's got this sort of like feminist undertone, but it's not like smart in the way that it does it.
Right.
And so you're like, oh, okay. And then, that's about it.
Yeah.
The premise is kind of interesting. It's literally about to. I saw something today. It was in theaters for like 2 weeks. It had like a limited run, and it's about to be on digital. It's one of those things like if you can catch it on like Netflix or a streaming service or something like that, it's
worth a watch.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like it's.
That's how. So I gave
fine.
The Gorge like 2.5, and for me it was like it'd be worth spending $10 to
like check it out
for a month of Apple TV to watch that movie.
If
whatever else Apple TV had.
Yeah, if streaming services actually did stuff like that more often, we'd all be better off. But they just don't do a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, I kind of think that Apple kind of shot themselves in the foot, because I think that The Gorge could have done decently well in the theaters, because
it was better. It was better than Love Hurts. Did you watch Love Hurts?
No, I haven't.
Oh, don't waste your time.
Don't. That's sad.
It's not good. In fact, it's quite the opposite of that. I think and maybe that's why like The Gorge is a little higher for me, because Love Hurts is about a 2, so Wolfman's a 2, Witcher was a 2, Love Hurts was a 2, and Captain America is definitely a 1, at least based on the way that I have everything set up. And this is out of 5, because that's
what Letterboxd does.
Yeah, they do 1 through 5, so that's kind of how I have that set up. And I really maybe I'm a little biased with like Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy, as far as like sort of younger actors. They have a lot of range, and they're quite convincing together. And Anya Taylor-Joy has very much this like classic attractiveness going on. Like she's kind of got that classic actress thing. Like she can act, she can sing, she's just like good in what she does, and she's just very convincing in pretty much everything I've ever seen her in.
I actually really enjoy the fact that the casting comes down to Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy's performances.
Yeah, they're like practically the only characters in the movie,
which I really enjoy. Less is more.
Yeah,
right? And
it can be for sure.
I enjoy the sole focus on both of them. Now, with that said, and we can get more into their characters, but I think Sigourney Weaver, it's more like she had an extended cameo. I actually think so this movie is
just collecting
I would
paycheck,
describe
man.
it. Yeah, she is. I would describe it as it's a romance movie, action movie, sci-fi thriller, and horror, and a political thriller.
A little bit, yeah.
And I think the political thriller part is the weakest aspect of the movie. And I enjoyed Act 1 and 2. When we get to Act 3 and it gets more into the political thriller part, I think that's where it brought it down. Yeah. That's not me saying Act 1 and 2 were perfect A's. But as far as like if I was judging, which acts were the best ones, I think Act 3 was the weakest of all of them.
Yeah, it stumbles, I think, a little bit towards the end. I would have changed very slightly. I think for the most part, if I was like looking over that, I would have changed the ending to be a little bit more satisfying and tie in to the two main characters just a little bit better.
Yeah.
I don't want to go in. I still kind of recommend it. It's.
I recommend it.
You watch a trailer if it's
worth
interesting.
$10.
Yeah,
I put it to you like this: if I would have gone to the theater and spent, money for me and my wife to see it, I wouldn't have left disappointed.
Yeah.
So that would have been
it's
$40?
Yeah, it's a fun little movie. And we
think
need stuff like that still.
When I got done with it, I said to my wife, I was like, this is what Resident Evil wishes they could do.
Dude, you know what's funny is that's
what it reminded me of.
Specifically the part in the church. All of a sudden, I'm going, this is a better Resident Evil movie than anything with the actual title in it. Like, how have they never been able to like pull that off?
And she was like, "What is Resident Evil?" I'm like, "It's the next game you're gonna play."
Oh, dude, yeah, get her on that RE2 remake, dude. It's dope.
But
yeah, I don't want to go into. Honestly, I don't want to go into too many spoilers. Like the trailer gives away some stuff, but I was actually even shocked how far they took it. As the movie went on, like I guess I wasn't 100% sure what to expect. The trailer was like enough to make me go like, okay, yeah, they're trying something here.
It's pretty predictable.
Yeah.
Especially once you get after Act 2, which is fine.
It's fine.
Because everything has set up and payoff. However, yeah, I mean,
the payoff at the end could have been stronger. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Without, we'll get to it in a second. But like, I would have done it a little bit differently because I think, like I was saying, I think it would have been a little more satisfying.
I think you and I are on the same page with that because I had an idea of how I would have done that.
I like the premise of it. One of my favorite, legitimately one of my favorite parts of the movie. I think it's great writing because it's very like true to life. So these two characters, they're not supposed to be talking to each other across. I guess we'll get into a little bit of spoilers here for the next couple of minutes. These two characters,
light spoilers.
Yeah.
Well, and that's shown in the movie though, or in the trailers.
They are they work for she's Latvian, he's American, and they are tasked with staying in these towers that are on opposite sides of this gorge. And there's something in the gorge. And the way that the trailer sort of indicates it is that it's like the gates to hell. And so they're basically there guarding it. And over the course of like 6 months or so in the movie, they begin to build a relationship even though they're not supposed to be talking to each other. They do it anyway. And, you know, with a little bit of like suspension of disbelief, you know, you're like, okay, like it's definitely possible. I mean, like it's military based. There's enough of like, they tell you that they pick people that are essentially, if they went missing, no one would really miss them. You know, it's like that person you're like, oh, they were in the military and they died on mission. You'd probably go, oh man, that's really unfortunate, and kind of move on. You know, they set that up pretty well. I mean, like her father is basically at the end of his life, and Miles Teller's character doesn't have family, and so that's kind of the setup, and it works. You know, you definitely have to set aside some, you know, of that, like, because that's what I was doing the whole time. I'm like, all right, like, am I bought in? And again, like the acting for me, it helps. You know, when you have two characters that are very much, two actors that are just like really eating up their roles. It makes it a lot easier to just still be invested, despite some of the potential flaws in the logic. But anyway, so they build this relationship over like 6 months, and this is my just like this great moment for me that's like, it's very like human, and the writing is like on point with this. So her father tells her before she goes, Anya Taylor-Joy's character, her father tells her that he's gonna kill himself on Valentine's Day. He's like old, kind of, you know, he's Latvian, but it's like old Ruski, like, you know, he's like, I'm gonna go out on my own terms. He's got cancer, and so he's like, light a candle for me on that day to remember me. And so she does that, and you know, Miles Teller and her have been building this relationship, and they've been writing to each other, and they have these like super binoculars so they can see across the gorge. And that's one of the that is one of the things that's a little bit like the timing for every time they are looking through the goggles, and it's like, you know, it's like, okay, what like this is a little crazy the way that they set it up, that it's the perfect timing every single time. You know, they're like going about their day, and you know, it's like, it's not like he's standing there for like hours holding the sign up waiting for her to say something, right? Anyway, but she's like there, and he like asks her what's wrong, and she's like, you know, she's like, I'm having a really rough day. I wish you were here with me right now, or whatever. And he knows exactly what that means. And so this dude immediately goes and grabs a rocket launcher and builds like a zip line all the way across, just so he can be with her. And I was like, that's the most real thing I've seen in a movie in a while.
For real.
I was like, 100% that is there is no other way to write that. And I'm like, I thank you for doing that, because it's like sweet, it's funny, like you know where he's coming from with it. Yeah, it's just
it's like nice and sweet. And she sniffs, she goes, "Oh, you stink."
Yeah. So yeah, they do it great, and they have great chemistry together. Which again, like they do. It helps a lot with that, and yeah, I was kind of like, I was like into it.
The set design of the gorge as well,
cool.
I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's simple stuff, man. Like they do that's one of the things that I have to give it credit for is like I'm happy that it's simple, and they're not. It's not. I mean, there's like CGI in it, but it's a relatively like budgeted movie. I heard it was maybe a little like someone was saying it's like it's like a B movie with with a bigger budget or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know. It's like I wouldn't really consider it a B movie. It's not like I don't know. I don't know if any of those terms mean anything anymore because like a B movie for me was like Chopping Mall or like The Room.
It was a Sci-Fi Channel.
Or, like one of those like Sharknado's a B movie. Like I don't know. So that's not quite it.
I enjoyed the Whiplash and the Queen Gambit reference in the movie.
Yep.
That was obviously not subtle.
No, it was not subtle, and it definitely is it was a little like, huh? Yeah. Weirdly enough, of all the things in the movie, that was the one where I was like, I don't know if I would have kept that in. Maybe the chess stuff because that makes sense. But yeah, them playing like his character more than hers. I'm like, I don't know if he would do that.
Yeah.
Because he comes off as a little more reserved than she is. So
yeah, I think the main thing for me was always with the movie is why they only got 2 people guarding this thing.
Oh, I know. They're just like, well, yeah, it's an odd.
I know they got the if we were automated stuff too, but if
we were going to go into like autistic detail about like the way
you got to suspend
it's all set up, it's
disbelief.
Yeah, it works. It's definitely a little dumb. There is a sense that like this could still work with a small group of like military folks, but then you still have a little bit of a problem there because it's like, okay, then like you're telling me like every year like a group of people goes missing and that nobody's starting to question what's going on,
Well, the whole point like to that is they pick people who don't have any connections.
Yeah, but you run into problems when you're just like, oh yeah, they've been able to do this every year with this same group of with a group of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd almost be. Yeah, I don't know. There's a way to do it for sure. But
the one thing I was expecting that never happened that I thought they were going to do is I kind of wished, and this is going to be a spoiler. Well,
doesn't matter. We're kind of in spoiler territory.
Okay, so this is a major spoiler, actually.
So
spoiler. if you don't want to hear it, but
it's okay. We're going to talk about the original soon.
Original guard that was there, the black dude. I can't remember his name. When he got killed.
He was the guy that Miles Teller replaced.
Yes. Yeah. When he got killed, I kind of thought we were going to see him come back.
Me too. I was surprised they never did. I thought there was going to be a little bit of a payoff there where like he comes back in some manner,
like
and then
maybe like Miles kills him and it's like an up close and thing and he realizes, oh crap, like
it's that guy,
this is the guy. But
they just didn't do it. It's okay. Well, and then like I think really my it's just a problem in movies. I wish there was a way to send out a memo to everyone writing and like choreographing these fights. It's like, stop setting it up so that your character gets grabbed by the throat by a thing that is like 3 or 4 times bigger than them, and then they just throw them, and that's the only reason that they survive that fight. I just need that to stop, because like I was relatively convinced that like Anya Taylor-Joy could take care of herself in the movie, And then she gets in that one-on-one fight with the big tree guy, and it was like, it was like, come on, guys.
Come on.
It's like, come on. Like,
she's a sniper, not a...
Yeah, she's not a brawler. And if you were going to... And the thing is, and I'll say this. If you're going to do that, give them a way out. Give them... Yep. You know, they kind of do it because she, like, catches him on fire at one point. I think she gets grabbed a couple times in that fight. But, like, if you're going to have them at some point get grabbed and thrown, you need to she needs to be able to damage the enemy in a way that would allow that to happen. Like, this is like video game 101.
She was stabbed in the gut with one of his
with one of the branches, yeah. Well, see, and I thought that was going to go somewhere at some point, never did. And you can almost see that they had these ideas like, oh, what if we did this? What if we did this? But then, like, you kind of it would kind of be a pretty unsatisfying ending if they didn't end up together. So it's just sort of like, well, maybe we don't do that. And just, you know, it's enough to make you kind of think like, will they, won't they? And the only thing that I think, as far as like if I was to change, like just tweak the movie a little bit, right? Not do like a huge overhaul on it. So Sigourney Weaver, I think it would help with the I think it would help with the logic at the end. So Sigourney Weaver ends up working for like it's not Black Ops. It's like, they're paramilitary, right? That's the right term, isn't it?
Yes.
Like they're mercenaries, basically.
They're contractors.
Contractors.
They're private. David,
private
they're private
contractors. Whatever.
Get it right, dude. They're not mercenaries, dude. So they're called private contractors now, David. This is 2025.
Oh, is mercenary?
Apologize.
Can you not call the private contractors mercenaries anymore? Do they not like that? You find out that or whatever, which, you know, it's like, okay, and for some reason, and I hate this. This is another one of the things that I hate when they do this in movies. The Sigourney Weaver goes, I want to be there. I want to kill him myself or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, that's what we're doing. And she shouldn't have gone because it's stupid. Like, she's the head of this organization. And it's, you know, you're like, okay, we're about to go into this. You pay people to do this stuff for you. Just send them and have them do it for you, right? The movie can roughly play out the same, but she's not there. And then, Joseph, if you remember, there's a scene in the movie where the two of them are having a conversation because they're both snipers, and Anya Taylor-Joy is kind of playing around with Miles Teller, and she's like, oh, were you in Yemen? I think it was Yemen. Were you in Yemen? Did you make that, like, insane shot there? And like he's toying a little bit and being coy and like, oh, like, no, it wasn't really me, you know, but like you're thinking maybe it was, and then they kind of reveal later that she was the one that actually made that shot.
Yes.
And it's like playful banter between these two people that have this very odd thing in common. And at the end of the movie, you know, Sigourney Weaver's like still alive. So what I thought, there's two things that you do is like they escape. Sigourney Weaver's still trying to find them, and so she's like the sort of like last loose end or whatever for the two of them to be able to like get away and be free. And so Miles Teller like tracks her down and kills her. And you do something which is like a little bit more of a satisfying thing, right? Like it's a full circle sort of deal. You know, you give him that win, and then he's late to the thing, right? Like their excuse for him being late or whatever is like he gets hurt, you know. So maybe you keep that in. I don't think it really matters. But you let him get he takes out Sigourney Weaver, and then you keep a similar situation at the end, right? But there's like a television report about like her getting like assassinated or whatever the case may be on television. And then like he just looks at her and he I don't remember what the distance was, right? Like I think it was some insane distance, but he looks at her and basically gives her a number that's like bigger than the shot that she did before. And she just looks at him and knows what he's talking about. And obviously, I'm just like spitballing this right now. There's probably a way to make it. I'd have to go back and look at how that conversation worked the first time with him. And then you pretty much end it the same way, and it just gives it a little bit. It gives you a little bit of payoff from a conversation that they had earlier on, where he's just like I beat you. You know what I mean? And she finds, of course, she would find it endearing, like it's that bit of competition between the two of them. And he's like, yeah, I got you on this one, and just to be cool, right? And it's like it would make sense because of that pretty major characteristic for the two of them being snipers. And then but the way that they handled it was like, I think he still gets a bigger shot, but it's because he hits like a bomb. Like he shoots, they set up the mines on those on
the satellite,
the satellite, like the sensor things or whatever.
Yep.
And he does it that way, and you're like, oh, okay, but it doesn't work as well as if it had been Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
And he had taken her out, and so you're like, okay, it's like satisfied for the most part. I feel like it's a movie that maybe in like 5 years I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember the Gorge, and I'll go back and watch it again. But yeah, it's still better than most of the stuff I've seen this year so far. Yeah. I feel it's kind of sad. I mean, I know it's only the end of
the best movie I've seen so far this year,
which is
I've only seen 2. No, 3.
Dang, dude. The Witcher.
The Witcher.
You want to talk about The Witcher?
Yeah, we could briefly talk about it.
All right.
I was highly disappointed.
Me too.
But I completely forgot that Lauren Hisrich was a producer on it.
Yeah, you told me
that. I
don't
know her involvement. But when I saw her name come across the screen in the beginning, I was like,
yeah, you told me that, and I was like, I think I'm going to wait a couple more days before I watch this.
Now, did you get when I sent you, what's her name, Ursula? I was like, I'll give you a hint, and I just said Ursula.
Yeah, you said that, and I was like, huh? And I didn't realize at first that it was like about like sea creatures or whatever. And honestly, I'd forgotten about your text, and I was watching it, and I'm like, okay. I was like, what are we doing here? And you're like, okay, they're from like 2 different worlds. And at some point, I literally was like, oh my God. I was like, they literally just ripped off The Little Mermaid.
They did.
Like,
my whole thing was like, this is the direction you went?
It's pathetic. It's pathetic. There's not a better way. Bro, I might have to give this. I put this at a 2-star. I might have to bump this down, man. Just it's almost for the source material of it too.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Disney doesn't own the rights to it, right?
No.
Like The Little Mermaid's obviously its own story, but they didn't have to.
Dude, it's like
you look at Guillermo del Toro, right, and his Pinocchio, and you can compare that to Disney. 2 completely different stories.
Yeah. Well, and like Ponyo is a anime movie that's based off Little Mermaid, but it's not exactly the same.
Well, and there's a few. They just directly ripped off.
Oh, dude, it's it's not 100% 1 for 1, but it is really dang close.
It's 1 for 2,
dude. It's the minute you pick up on it, you're just like, oh, what? I mean, like Ursula, Little Mermaid, Prince Eric,
the potion.
Dude, you're right. The potion, singing. The sea monster. Like, oh, dude, the singing is like the worst. When that lady started singing, I was like, oh no, that dude. If it was not for the podcast, I would have turned it off right there. That would have done it. That would have done it for me.
Dude. At least if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna rip something off, you better make sure it's better. That ain't it.
It's the most toned down Witcher thing I've also seen.
Yeah, and it's disappointed because I was interested in seeing this because if I remember correctly, the first animated movie was pretty good.
It's hang on, Witcher something of the Nightmare of the Wolf. I remember liked Nightmare of. To be fair, don't remember a lot about it because that was 3 years ago. But I remember liking Nightmare of the Wolf. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's like I could definitely get behind them doing some more stuff like this. I was not a fan of how they portrayed Geralt fighting.
Yeah.
He's like, it's funny because I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about someone had brought up episode 2 of Star Wars and that scene where Yoda is like bouncing around and they were referring to him as a Mexican jumping bean, and that's what this reminded me of.
Yes,
where it was like, dude, why is he doing that? Like it was just like too much, and I'm like, The Witcher still needs to be ground. I don't mind him being agile necessarily, but it was just like, what are you doing? Like, he was all over the place. I didn't really care for the way that they they did his combat. Yeah, they interpreted his combat for the movie.
It was terrible, dude.
Yeah, I don't really have. I'm trying to think. Was there anything for you that was like?
No, it's just a waste of a voice, though. They brought back the original.
Yeah, the original voice actor from the games. It was like, I remember seeing that and being like, oh, that's cool, but it's just, dude, it's just member berries. It's like modern day member berries.
It really is, and the animation wasn't that good.
Yeah, I don't like the mix of 2D and 3D.
Not the way they did it. I mean, you look at The Last Wish. That's what The Last Wish did, and to an extent, The Wild Robot does that as well.
Well, those are way more 3D animated. Like they are, if a little bit of 2D, but it's something.
It doesn't break your immersion.
Yeah, it's the 3D in it, like the big lizard that he fights in the beginning. The minute I saw it, I was like, ugh. I was like, why couldn't you have just animated that in 2D? Why did the lizard? You're like, okay, here's this 2D animated movie. This lizard is going to be 3D. It's like, why?
Dude.
It's so jarring.
It is. And on top of that, the voice acting in this, outside of especially what's her name? I got to pull up the...
Oh, his like love interest and
man,
I can't remember what her name is either.
I'm sorry to the voice actress.
She's female Yasker.
Dude, it was just running through me. I was like
Dandelion. He's called Dandelion in the games, and I guess like Yaskier is like one of his names too. Maybe maybe he's called that in the books. I don't remember. But yeah, he gets on my nerves too. They wrote like one catchy tune for season 1 of The Witcher, and they're like, oh man, everybody loves this character, and it's like, oh, he's so annoying now. And it's like, oh, isn't it funny how annoying he is? It's like, no.
Yeah. I mean, dude, like I get like them. I'm glad that they did. I mean, it is kind of classic Witcher formula, right? To where they take a fairy tale and try and turn it on its head. It's just they didn't do that. They just
didn't even try. Yeah, there was no effort put into this at all. It is the actual definition of a ripoff.
David, to be fair, maybe they did try and put effort into it, and they just weren't good enough.
I feel bad for I'm not a huge fan of the animation style, but like, I kind of feel bad for the people who animated this because it's like not their fault. Because the writing just sucks. Like, dude, I don't. Okay, I think we've probably talked about this on the show. It's something that has kind of been an annoyance for me lately because I've just realized it. I mean, like I've known it some, but like it's become a lot more apparent recently. All of the most like popular genre stuff has already been written for the most part. I mean, that's what they do is they take the source material, say like Lord of the Rings or stuff from Marvel or DC or Witcher or whatever the case may be. There's all of this source material, and they just refuse to properly adapt it. It's the strangest. It's the strangest thing to me. It's like listen. Why is it a better idea for you to rip off The Little Mermaid and cram Geralt into it than it is to just be like, here are 7 books, the first 2 or 3 of which are short stories. Why not just adapt that?
Or here's a great idea.
Just do that,
David.
And they
the first Vesemir movie was good, and Why not just continue from there?
It's weird, right? Because like that isn't an actual story. Like that's mostly made up. I mean, like the lore part of it for the most part is real, and I'm sure there's some like super hardcore Witcher fans who are like, no, Nightmare of the Wolf is terrible. It messes this up, but it's like I don't know. I thought it was all right. But yeah, man, it's weird. Just do the thing. Like Marvel's a massive example of this.
Just adapt the story.
Yeah, like
that's all you. We talked about this like to your point with Lord of the Rings when it comes to the Rings of Power. It's like adapt Tolkien's main points. There's things that you have liberty to where you can take creative license that's in keeping with Tolkien themes, ideas, and spirit. And you're trying your best to be like, what is this? What Tolkien would do? While obviously your own interpretation is subconsciously going to bleed into that, but you're trying your best to stick to the author's original intent, or to where his intent isn't there, where it's not spelled out. You're trying your best to be Tolkien, so to say, and not necessarily be yourself. But too many people, I mean, it's just they want to be able to use Lord of the Rings, use The Witcher, use Wheel of Time, use all Halo, use all these properties that have big IP. That's a big IP, more or less, because they don't have the ability, truly, or at least maybe they do have the ability. Well, most of them don't, but maybe some have the ability but don't have the desire, and they don't want to create anything original.
They do, like you don't even have to have like adaptation and like what we're talking about. Yeah, dude. He just, and it's so funny. So the guy that directed that, his name's slipping my mind, but he directed Doctor Strange, the first one, and he also
Scott Dickinson, something like that.
He's also he did Black Phone, which was a pretty popular spooky movie from a couple of years ago. And he specifically wanted to make The Gorge before he did that. Like he just had this desire. Derrickson. Yeah, Scott. Yeah. And like he's a pretty competent director. And he just like had the desire to make this thing, and it's not really like based on anything, at least not, there obviously it's based on something, but like as far as I know, it's not like a short story, it's not a book or a movie from a long time ago. Like it's just this thing that he had this idea that he wanted to do, so he got the funding to do it and he made it. And it's like maybe that's why maybe I'm a little, but there's probably a little bias in there where I'm just like I appreciate that you did that. Thank you for trying. Thank you for like putting something out there that isn't more like superhero slop.
Maybe we have Stockholm syndrome, and that's why we keep going back to The Witcher, David.
Maybe, dude. I keep hoping they're, it's lost, I think. Who knows when we're going to get Witcher 4, but I'm not.
I just understand that, like, hire people that like the product, or at least I've said it before, even with myself, I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I can guarantee to you, if someone approached me and said, Joseph, we want you to make a Star Wars movie or TV show, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and be as respectful to their source material as possible, and as respectful to the passionate fans as possible. Listen, with in mind the general audience as well. But I think if you just stick to the source material, if it's garnered a big IP branding, there's a reason for that, and it's not because of my interpretation.
The problem with Star Wars, and I'm gonna get a little bit of flack for this, is that there's not enough source material to mine from that. They had like all the EU stuff, but like, and I think that would have been fine for like if Disney would have never done it because it's the same stupid problems that everybody has. But they they removed all of the stuff from the EU. And then they're just like, we're going to do our own thing. And then they just made something that was worse. Yeah. And then like they could have mined the EU stuff and probably would still be making movies. If they were pretty good, they'd probably still be making a lot of money off of them. But as far as I'm concerned at this point, like I didn't age out. That's not the right term for it. I don't know what the term would be. I am a original trilogy fan and nothing else at this point, really. Yeah. I have respect for aspects of the prequels. There's like really good movies buried in those movies. But it's original trilogy, and I just have no interest in anything else from it. And ultimately, I'm really just an Empire fan. I love that movie.
Right there with you, man.
I thought about doing it, but you have to kind of put the whole trilogy on there. I think it's worth it too, just because they're classics, and there's like a good overarching narrative between from one, two, or 4, 5, and 6, whatever, from A New Hope to Empire to Jedi. So you have to put them all in there, because you can't just be like, well, just watch Empire. Like that would be crazy. If you're like, you'd never seen Star Wars before, and you're just like, just watch Empire, you'll be good. Like, it's not one of those things where, I could probably say, like, just watch Aliens and you'd be good, or just watch Terminator 2 and you'd probably still be pretty good. Like, you'd pick up on the few things from the other ones. You can't really do that with Star Wars. Funny enough, with Indiana Jones, I only put Raiders on there for now. I'm thinking we'll see if the rest of them make the cut. I love Last Crusade, but I'm trying to make room for some other movies. We'll see how quickly the list fills up, and then I might go back and like tweak things a little bit if I'm like, I'm gonna put all of the Indiana Jones movies in there, or like the first 3. Not all of them. There's only 3. Yeah, man, I don't know. Like, I think the minute that I realized that The Witcher was just ripping off Little Mermaid, I semi-checked out of the movie. Yeah. I watched the whole thing, but I was like, I've seen this. I know exactly what's going to happen now. And then the only thing they did is they did like a role reversal where he turns into a mermaid instead of her turning into a human.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay. And then they're like, don't they look happy? And then they try to pull the thing that the Witcher always does, where it's like there's a bit of a dark undercurrent in it, where it's like, okay, now this guy who had this king, he had more than one sons, and now he's lost all of his sons, and so he has no heirs. And you're like, yeah, that works in a good story. You didn't do that here. You just ripped something off and then are passing it as your own. We were about
halfway through, and my wife was like, "Do we have to continue this?" I'm like, "We have to for the podcast."
Yeah, we must. Here's Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm sorry.
So, I don't even know what's next, Joseph. What I wanted to check to see.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm gonna go see The Monkey.
What's that about?
It's about this monkey, this cursed monkey that whenever it's around, people get killed. Where was my list, dude? I know I had it in here. Can't find anything tonight. Pause. Because I must know what else. Captain America's
Mickey
like
17?
Mickey 17's coming up. It's been relatively well received so far.
It only when's it come out? March 5th? Is that what I'm seeing? No, March 7th in the U.S.
Oh, that's not too far away. Well, and I don't know if you're gonna watch it, but I will be at least reporting back on Daredevil.
The series.
Yeah, whatever. They're Born Again.
When is it?
Again, March 4th.
Okay. So basically the same time.
So the monkey. Oh, the monkey's out already. It came out on. No. It comes out in 3 days. Okay, cool. I need to talk to Justin because I think he's gonna go see that with me. And then Mickey 17 on the 7th. Snow White on the 21st.
On the 21st of March.
Yeah.
We got Death of a Unicorn March 8th as well.
Oh, that's right. I had to wait. March 28th, right?
No, it's March 8th.
Oh, why do I have March 28th?
No, wait. Hang on. The premiere. Excuse me. The premiere is March 8th. The theatrical release is March 28th.
Okay, cool.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Minecraft.
Ugh.
I know it's gonna be really bad, dude. It looks terrible.
I am not watching that, dude.
I wonder if it's gonna have the same.
Watch us have to watch it because there won't be anything else for us to review.
I might. So did I tell you? So Ryan Coogler, the guy that did Creed and Black Panther.
Yep.
He has a movie coming out called Sinners. It's about vampires.
Yes.
So they had like a teaser trailer, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna like get ready. We're gonna release like our normal trailer for it, bro." It just spoils the entire movie. I was legitimately annoyed. I was like, dude. I was like, because so Ryan Coogler's always been kind of an interesting director to me. Like, I think he's got talent, but I mean, listen, Black Panther I think was just like a time and a place type deal. There are a lot of people that think that movie is like the literal second coming, and they're out of their minds. Like, it's not very good. I love Chadwick Boseman. His death really kind of messed up that series. I still think his best movie is literally Civil War. Like, Civil War is a better Black Panther movie than Black Panther is. He's way cooler in it. Like, his character has just got, like, his motives and the way that he handles everything. It's just so much better. And, you know, Black Panther was one of the first movies that started introducing that, like, third act CG slop where the entire fight was just, like, done in CG, and then they have to, like, make the movie sort of match that. It was also the movie where everyone there were tons of people who were like praising Killmonger as like this awesome anti-hero, and I'm like, dude, no, he's a villain. Like, he's a terrible person. What are you doing? They just people just like Michael B. Jordan, and they're like, oh, Killmonger. It's like, dude, he murdered his girlfriend, and it like was a terrorist. Like, this is not someone that you. There's some other. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. But I remember going back and watching it a couple of years ago and being like, ooh, like, why did. Oh, boy. Yeah, and the Mission Impossible, May. Thunderbolts, May. So, quite a bit to go, dude.
Maybe we'll find something this week that we can review next week. We can talk about and see.
Yeah.
Either that or we'll just talk about your list if we don't find anything.
That could be cool. What was the other thing we were planning on? Dude, I don't even know if I want to do War of the Rohirrim at this point. I don't know if I can bring myself to do it. I need something good. I need something good to sort of like supplement.
I'm not watching that again.
Oh, man.
One time was enough.
I mean, I think we all know at this point that it sucked.
Yeah.
I just can't even. I don't even know if I can bring myself to do it. I see it like every once in a while. Like, they have like the 4K physical that came out, and I'm just like,
all five people bought it.
I know, right? I'm like, I could watch it, and then I'm like, nah, I think I'm good. Yeah, we'll figure something out. I mean, there's always news to talk about. Dude, I'll tell you this: the guy who's the showrunner for this reboot of Daredevil, he is gassing this show up like crazy online. He's done so many interviews being like, it's grittier and darker, and like just saying all this stuff about it, like trying to get you to think it's like gonna be better than like season 1, 2, and 3 of the Netflix series. And I'm like, bro, this thing better hit. And it better be really good, or like you're gonna be in trouble because everyone's gonna be like, "What were you talking about?" You know. It looks cool from the trailers, but I just don't trust it. You know, I've been burned too many times, dude. Arcane has ruined me. I think, dude, legitimately, like, we'll look back on this years from now and be like, I have no trust for this stuff because of Arcane.
Yeah.
Drop the ball, dude. Bro. Oh my gosh. That show's been winning. Like, it sucks because like Arcane's been winning all of these awards this year.
Dude,
like everything it's getting nominated in, it's winning, and I'm just like, they're not going to learn any of they learn nothing because all of the people, like, it's that vacuum effect where they're in this vacuum, and the people that they would consider prestigious or the people that are nominating, you know, all of a sudden they're getting all the awards for this stuff. So they're like, we're on the right path. We're doing the right thing. And it's just like, that sucks, dude. So it's going to take a while, I think, before anybody be curious to see what they do next whenever that comes out and the reception of it, because that might be more of an indicator of how the mood is feeling for Arcane. People talk about the woke being put away, but I just don't see it. I mean, yeah, the DEI stuff is going to take a while, I think, to sort of get drained. Like,
out.
It's, dude, from what I've heard from people who have actually been involved in those industries, trends and all of that stuff, it takes 4 or 5 years before you actually start to see the shift in that. So things potentially normalizing, and it depends. Like, you might see it in the sort of the more like indie spaces, and some of that start to flip a little bit faster. But yeah, you're gonna still see a lot of the garbage and the self inserts and people making like activist stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure Alien Earth is just gonna be like it's like not communism. They wouldn't do communism bad. It's just going to be like capitalism bad, from what I've heard. So we'll see. But
we'll see how it goes.
It's not easy to destroy an idea, and the woke is more akin to religious movement than anything. Yeah, it's definitely got some like cult-like behavior behind it for sure. And a lot of The interesting thing. It'd kind of be one thing if like there were people who could like honestly argue on that side. It's funny, I was telling friend of the show Jake a while back that like I sort of missed the era of like the authentic atheist, because they at least like believed what they were saying and would have like an honest argument with you or discussion with you regardless of where that discussion ended. And it's like we make this joke now. I don't know if we've said it as much on the show, but like every time I talk to people now, it's like you sort of like push back against an argument or even like part of their ideology or whatever the case may be. I mean, obviously we just, for the most part these days, we're just talking about movies and television and video games, but you say something and you're like, yeah, man, like this kind of sucked. Like this is the reason why. And then like they never had an argument for the other side. And it's like,
yep.
And
they never receive pushback because
they
spend too much time in the echo chamber.
Yeah, and then they go, I don't have time to educate you about why you're incorrect about this. It's like, dude, I started seeing it from the normies with the Kendrick Lamar thing. Like when he did the Superb Owl halftime show, he was like they were going like, if you don't understand what he was trying to say, it wasn't for you. And it's like, bruh, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. I get it. And it's weird, man. Like the people who are trying to pull out the stuff. I'm sorry, I'm rambling at this point, but like that's the last thing I'll say about this. People are trying to be like, because there's like people who just like don't like rap, and some people just don't like Kendrick Lamar's style. I like NF. Like I like the speedy, lyric-y. That's the kind of stuff that I like in rap.
Yeah.
Like I think honestly it comes from me loving metal music. It's very fast. There's a lot of talent in like what's going into that. And I don't know. It's just like I really like it. But yeah, there were people who were like, I don't like rap. Didn't really like the halftime show because of that. And they're like, ugh, boomers. And it's like, all right, guys, come on. Like, there's a lot of people that don't like certain kinds of music. Let's all calm down a little bit. There's a lot. Right. Yeah, there's a lot that from a media sort of like deconstruction of that. Sort of the reaction from people, the media literacy, quote unquote, people who are always coming out being like, you just don't understand, like you're just not media literate like I am, you know, the college education people. There's some stuff that you could really like dig into that with Serena Williams was there, and freaking Samuel L. Jackson, and just like the weird stuff that like less of Serena because I don't keep up with the sports side of things as much, but like Samuel L. Jackson was, I think the last thing he was in, dude, was Secret Wars, where there's like this. He basically is a metaphor for like trans. It's the only way I know how to describe it. And
dude, he's a little alien creature, whatever they're called.
Yeah, so I guess they completely ruin Nick Fury in that show, and then he's in love with trans Cree. I might be getting this wrong. But it's really weird, and like that show sucked. And like, dude, he's an actor. Like, I don't know. You and I, among other people, like we live in a world now where we're like post-celebrity. So celebrities do things, and I just look at it and I'm just like, ugh.
Right.
I have no taste for it. It's pretty rare. And even when I see one of, like, they're doing a lot of, I've seen a lot of stuff on X about the 50 years of Saturday Night Live or whatever. And it's just like all these celebrities, and they're all in the audience, and people are like, wow, can you believe what? And I'm just like, ugh, like, I just don't care. Like, I don't know. I've got a bad taste in my mouth for a lot of that at this point. Because they're actors, dude. Like, that's what they get paid for. Who knows?
Adult pretenders.
Yeah, dude. Who knows what any of them really believe, if they believe anything, you know? I would imagine there are very few actors in Hollywood that if you had like a actual honest conversation with them, that it would be interesting, you know? Who knows? Because like I heard Christian Bale in particular has this tendency that like when people meet him, that he's like working on a movie or he's doing whatever, he's just in character when you're talking to him. Like Mark Millar, who he did Kick-Ass and what was the other big one? Oh, and like Wanted. He's like the guy that wrote those comics. He met Christian Bale one time, and he was like, yeah. He's like, he seemed like such a cool dude, and he was like really down to earth and like very attentive, and like was talking to me and asking me questions. And he's like, and then I left and realized he was just Bruce Wayne. He was just playing Bruce Wayne.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So that stuff gags me up. People think they hate actors/journalists enough, but they don't. Yeah, people just got to stop trusting that stuff, man. Like, I don't know. It's like spells. It's what I always feel like it comes down to. It's like there's these weird spells that are on that people have. It's like the stuff with like the rule of 3, man, where you like if you say something like 3 times over, it's like common in music. And it's just these weird things that like people have found ways to almost like hack the like human brain, and like that's the stuff that like for a lot of people you can. It's why like pop music is so popular. Is it's like you can like it's almost like they're hacking the human brain to be like, ooh, I like this. This sounds good to me. And then sometimes it's just easy to be like, oh, it's kind of catchy, and then you're like, ugh, I hate this after a while. Looking at you, Sabrina Carpenter. Tired of her being everywhere, man. She's driving me crazy. Oh my gosh. I told someone that the other day. I was like, she's overrated, and they were about to lose their mind. All right, dude. You got anything else to add before we head out? I know it's getting late.
No, man. We'll see y'all next week.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to episode. Next week is 200.
200.
All right. I think executive decision. I'm going to try to get my list of 100 done.
Okay.
And we'll do that next week.
Pressure's on, David.
We'll see what we can do. I might try to poke a couple people we know, see if they want to come on and hang out.
If not, we can always just do do your list of 100. Either that, or if you don't complete it, then
we'll talk about the first 50, and then we'll talk about the other 50 when I get it done.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see, dude. You never know. Stuff might change. But yeah, 200 should be fun. We'll see if we can get a couple people on from past episodes. Still trying to get Zach's on, man. He is a hard man to track down, living out there in Canada.
He is, man.
Alrighty. Well,
stream more often.
I know, dude. All right. Thank you all so much for listening to episode 199 of The Underground. We'll be back next week. And until then, y'all take it easy.
See ya.
I gotta turn off all the recordings. Okay, we are